in mind, brothers and sisters, when some of these killers, reach intensity in recent times, I think I say, something ain't right about all this that's going on. My antennas went up because I've known for a long time that there's been plans and plots to cull the population, C-U-L-L, cull the population. There's been plans for population control in National Security Memorandum number 200, I think it is. Is that 200, Randy?
No.
Put together
200.
I think it's 200.
Yes, 200.
They got a couple of National Security Memorandums that everybody needs to get up on.
Yeah.
National Security Memorandum number 200, which is Henry Kissinger had something to do with, and also
Number 46.
number 46. Number 200 is a plan for population control. National Security Memorandum number 46 is for the white man to put in plans to keep black people and Africans divided against each other so that they could steal all the natural resources. You can Google it on the internet. You Google it on the internet and it'll pop up. Okay? National Security Memorandum number 46 and National Security Memorandum 200. Okay? Now, let me get through this. They got all kind of plans, brothers and sisters, against us. If they can't get us one way, they get us another way. If they can't lock you up in jail or get you hooked on crack cocaine or heroin or what is this new marijuana stuff they got out? Huh? What is it? Loud and lean.
Opioids. It's opioids.
Yeah. Marijuana laced with rat poison, fentanyl, and all that. They can't get you on that. They come up with another way to get it. I gave a lecture here, not here, but at Cam's place a month or so ago on the food conspiracy. You see, they coming at you through the food. Huh? They GMO, hormones in the milk. Huh? At the Human Genome Project some decades ago.
Oh, yeah.
I have a book, Project Crescent, in which they said that at the Human Genome Project, brothers and sisters, they formulated plans to come up and produce certain foods that if white folks ate it, it wouldn't do anything to them, but if black folks ate it, it would make them get sick or come down with some type of disease, cancer, or anything. Okay? They even putting chemicals in the food to make black people, period, turn gay. Here's an article, a black chemist says they're putting chemicals in the food to make people gay. His name is Tyrone Hayes. There's a documentary entitled Flow. Everybody need to Google that. It's a documentary called Flow, F-O-L-Y, with this black scientist by the name of Tyrone Hayes in it, in which he stated that his research, scientific research, showed how a chemical that's in the water supply today called atrazine, atrazine made fish and frogs turn gay. And it's in this chemical atrazine is in the water supply right now, and it's been proven that atrazine causes prostate cancer and many other forms of cancer. There's a book by Nathan and Julia Hare entitled The Endangered Black Family. Everybody need to get a copy of that book. The Endangered Black Family by Nathan and Julia Hare. And in that book, they talk about the Jaffe Memorandum. The Jaffe Memorandum. And in the Jaffe Memorandum, Frederick Jaffe was an aide to President Carter. And this was a memo that he issued saying that they would promote homosexuality in the black community, and they would put fertility control agents in the water supply to control the black population. This is in this memo. You can Google that also. This is not fiction. There was a movie that came out some years ago starring Jim Brown called Three the Hard Way, and the subject of that movie was white supremacists putting chemicals in the water supply to affect and kill our black people. What we see happening in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, if you think that was an accident, you need to stop watching these fairy tale movies, okay? Because this is real stuff that we're talking about here today, brothers and sisters. So yeah, they are putting chemicals in the water supply to affect black people in a bad way. You know, we have to make sure that we drink purified water, you know, that we take care of our bodies as well as our minds. And, you know, we have to understand that what I call food warfare genocide that's going on right now. Food warfare genocide. And as somebody pointed out, this is the reason why there's food deserts in the black community. We can't, you know, get adequate fruits and vegetables the way black people should because we are melanated people, brothers and sisters. Fruits and vegetables help our melanated biological system. It was Dr. S.a.a.w who said, you don't take gorilla food and give it to a polar bear, nor do you take polar bear food and give it to a gorilla. Why do you think they got all these fast food restaurants on just about every other block in the black community? It was Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, author of the ISIS Paper, who said in the lecture, I was right there in the audience when she said, in one of her lectures over here on the south side some decades ago, she said, beware of all these chicken places in the black community. Again, if they can't get you one way, they're going to come at you another way. This is, that's right, that's right. Here's going back to the blackface plot. Here's a picture of this quacker that Brother Randy mentioned earlier. His name is Conrad s.a.a.w, I think, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. This is the white guy that took it upon himself to get a black mask, pretend like he was a black person and go around robbing banks. Conrad s.a.a.w is his name, okay? Let me see what else I got here. Remember that name, Conrad s.a.a.w. Here's another more clearer picture of the mask that he used when he was going around committing, you know, his crime to be blamed on some non-existent or innocent black man. All right? So again, this fueled the theory by some what they refer to as conspiracy theorists, but who I refer to as conspiracy factualists. You see, here's an article. Let me read you some of this article right here, brothers and sisters. Attention, black community perpetrator alert. There is an alert on an apparent conspiracy waged by white supremacists and or governing factions to frame African Americans by using black masks to perpetrate crimes in our community across the country. The masks are very realistic and often aided by makeup. The crimes they commit mostly consist of shootings and or killings to further the agendas of fear-mongering, to divide and conquer in the black community as it relates to gangs, to keep them fighting and killing each other and from forming truces. That reminds me of the book Monster that I read some years ago, in which Cody Scott, who's former Crip gangbang on the West Coast, mentioned about how the police would take some gang members and drop them off in enemy territory in order to foment violence. Keep the gangs fighting against each other. Okay? So to keep them killing each other and performing truces, and to continue the fear of our youth in the community, and to perpetrate through the media the stigma of blacks killing blacks and committing other criminal activities. Take the recent shooting at the police station at a Black Lives Matter rally in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the perpetrators wore dark masks and makeup to hide their identities to make it appear that they may have been black men, but it was revealed that there were 2 white men and 1 Asian male. Yeah. Wow. This is real. This is real, brothers and sisters. This is no joke. These people are at war with us. Back in the, I have it right here. Back in the, how many heard of the Mau Rebellion in Africa?
Yeah.
It took place in Kenya. The Mau Rebellion, where our brothers, mighty black brothers and sisters, rose up, and they wanted to kick the British up out of their country. I didn't even bring that article. I thought I must have accidentally left it. But one of the things that the British did in order to create chaos among the Mau population was they dressed British troops up in blackface. They dressed British troops up in blackface. They even had a recent incident where some British troops dressed up in blackface over there in England. And they caused a ruckus for what they could, because people judged it as being a racist act. But anyway, back during the Mau Rebellion, when Jomo Kenyatta rose up and decided they were going to kick them racist, wicked British up out of their country, the British conducted what they call counterinsurgency. Is that right, Randy?
That's right, counterinsurgency.
By the way, this is the book, Low Intensity Warfare, that documents exactly the devilry, skullduggery conspiracies that the Europeans and the white man, the American government, you see, under their military policy and the ways in which they go throughout the world, creating chaos in Islamic, African, and other third world countries, using low intensity warfare. And after reading this book, I maintain that a form of low intensity warfare is going on in the black community today, brothers and sisters. But to finish my point, so that's what the British did. They sent their British troops in there and they doctored them up to look like Africans. And they went in the bush and they killed some of the Mau and they blamed it on other Africans. And the Africans started fighting amongst each other. Okay? Y'all see how that ties in with what's happening in our community today?
That's right.
Just as Brother Randy pointed out so well. Huh? We have to understand, yes, we're the victims of all kind of conspiracies. COINTELPRO, King Alfred. Huh? We've been led to believe that the King Alfred, how many heard of the King Alfred plan? Raise your hand. Huh? Let me tell you, for those of you that don't know what King Alfred is. King Alfred is a plan that the United States government came out with in the 60s during the Black Liberation Movement. Okay? And many of us have been told that it's nothing but fiction. But it's actually real, and it's been updated up under another name called Rex 84. When Oliver North, you see, was involved in the Iran-Contra scandal, it was updated then. But King Alfred, the reason why they called it King Alfred, is because King Alfred of England, he was expert at espionage. So that's the reason why the government named it King Alfred. Okay, the King Alfred plan is a plan on the part of white supremacists that in the event, they say in the document, that in the event of a race war here in the United States, that they will round up all of the black population and herd us off into concentration camps. They said in this document that if there are black policemen, they will disarm all of the black policemen and send them into these concentration camps. All black military personnel who have been trained to use weapons, they would disarm all of them and cart them off to concentration camps and detention centers just like regular people. They said in the King Alfred plan that they intentionally sent up to the front lines of the Vietnam War, they intentionally sent black troops so that they could be killed off. So that when the race war jumped off, it wouldn't be anybody to protect the black community.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, to whom all praise is due, whom we forever thank for giving America's 20 million so-called Negroes the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as our beloved leader, teacher, and guide. And brothers and sisters, before I have anything whatsoever to say, I would like to have a very distinguished visitor, a couple who is visiting us this afternoon, stand and take a bow. The son and daughter-in-law of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mr. Herbert Muhammad, and his wife. Stand up, brother. Stand up. Brother, human characteristics that we find missing in the so-called Negro communities today. And fifth, we want to then examine the other efforts and methods that have been used and are still being used in a futile effort to solve this problem. And last, we then want to offer and explain the solution that God has given to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is complete separation and immediate separation of the slave master and his slave. And as Muslims here in America, we regard the condition of the black man here as modern slavery. We don't look upon anything that was done by Lincoln and those people back there as having any effect upon the condition of freedom or enslavement that the black people experienced in those days and time. But first we would like to let you know who is this group that's always referred to as black Muslims. Actually, the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we don't call ourselves black Muslims as such. This is a name that was invented by a so-called Negro preacher named Reverend C. Eric Lincoln, who was a preacher, a Methodist preacher down in Atlanta, Georgia, whom the white man selected and sent to Boston University, where he did some research on the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad here in America. After Reverend Lincoln finished his study, he wrote a thesis, and after it was accepted, he was called a doctor. I guess he's a doctor of Muslimology, and he developed his thesis into a book called The Black Muslims, and today the white man calls us the black Muslims, not because we are black people who are Muslims, but he tries to make it look like we are black Muslims, something distinct, separate, and apart from the Muslims in Africa and Asia. Because the number one tactic that the white man has always used when he wanted to suppress and oppress and exploit has been divide and conquer. So he tries to divide us from the Muslims abroad. He tries to divide us from our own people here in this country. His constant tactic or effort to create division and get at us has been a failure, thanks to Almighty God, Allah. As Muslims, we are the same as the people who call themselves Muslim. We are Muslims because our religion is the religion of Islam. And there are 725 million people in the dark world, primarily in Africa and Asia, whose religion is the religion of Islam. 725 million people in the dark world who 5 times a day turn toward Mecca and bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the apostle of Allah. In the language of our forefathers, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, they say, Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Before you and I were brought, the white man didn't never want you to say. Now hold it again. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. Good. That means there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his apostle. And you'll usually find the white man will call on or bear witness to any God but Allah. And he loves people who serves God, except those who use the name Allah as the supreme being. And in saying this, we believe that there is one God who is the supreme being, the creator of the universe. Some of you call him Jehovah, others call him Christ. We who are Muslims call him Allah. We don't look upon Jesus as being God. It has only been since you were brought to America and brainwashed by the slave master that you have come to think that Jesus is God. And Jesus was crucified on the cross 2,000 years ago, 9,000 miles from here, and you can call on that Jesus the rest of your life, and the white man will continue to put his rope around your neck. But in the Bible, please, in the Bible, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that there is one God. He has one religion, and that he gave this one religion, the same religion, to all of his prophets. Which means Abraham was a Muslim, Lot was a Muslim, Noah was a Muslim, Moses was a Muslim, Daniel was a Muslim, Jesus was a Muslim. All were Muslims, all practiced the religion of Islam, and all were black men. None of them were white. You cannot name one prophet, please, you cannot name one prophet in the Bible that came from Europe. No prophet came from Europe. There is not a white man in his right mind. There's not a white man in his right mind who will try and say that any prophet ever came from Europe. The prophets all came from Africa and Asia. And they came from that part of Africa that part of Asia that's connected with Africa. Never has a prophet been a white man. And this is one thing that you need to know before you can really have a love for the prophets and a love for the religion that was taught by the prophets and a love for the God who was represented by the prophets. And this is the purpose of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad being in America, to let the black people in America know the true religion that was taught by the prophets of old. I would like to say, before going any farther, the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has to leave, and I would like to recognize his presence and ask him if there is anything he'd like to say before he leaves. I do think that if his father knew he was here, he'd want him to have something to say. Come up here.
Assalamu alaikum. I guess first I should say what Brother Minister Malcolm just spoke to you. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Means there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen.
A dope peddler right now, he's a Christian. If you catch a whiskey peddler right now, he's a Christian. Now, I'm not attacking Christianity, but let's face the facts. This is the thing that is primarily responsible for the condition that our people are in. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has stopped us from stealing, and we did steal. He stopped us from gambling. He stopped us from cheating, and he stopped us from lying. Stealing runs rampant in Harlem. Gambling runs rampant in Harlem. All types of evils and vices that tear apart our community run rampant in Harlem. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't condemn the victim. He goes to work on the victim. He doesn't say that all of you should go to jail because you have fallen victim to the evils that white man has brought into the community. He teaches you and me the religion that God has given to him as the only cure for the evil habits the white man has brought here among us. Profanity, you don't find it among Muslims. He stopped us from using profanity, from being boisterous, from being rude and loud, and encourages us to be courteous, mannerly, and to exercise discipline and respect for authority at all times. He teaches us to obey the law. to respect law enforcement officers, as long as these law enforcement officers respect themselves and respect the law that they represent. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has eliminated laziness from among his followers. He teaches us to be thrifty, channel our money that we earn in an intelligent direction. He has taken us out of the tavern. We don't throw our money away there. He has taken us out of the bars and the nightclubs. We don't throw our money away there. We don't stand on the corner now without a job. When you become a Muslim, he makes us get a job. He makes us go to work. He makes us exercise or exert energy in our own behalf. And all of this type of teaching that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing among the black people in this country has been instrumental in producing a new type of people, a new thinking people, people with a new action, a new attitude, and a new behavior. And even the worst critics of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, though it hurts their heart to do so, have to admit that he has made better people out of those of us who follow him, better than we were before we became his followers. He teaches us to bathe. Don't let the white man speak for you, and don't let the white man fight for you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that it is time for you and me to stand up for ourselves. It is time for you and me to see for ourselves. It is time for you and me to hear for ourselves. And it is time for you and me to fight for ourselves. We don't need anybody today speaking for us, seeing for us, or fighting for us. We'll fight our own battles with the help of our God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, seek good, don't seek evil. Try to please God. Forget trying to please the devil. Make yourself acceptable to God instead of being so worried about being acceptable to the devil. Try and integrate with God instead of trying to integrate with the devil. Devil means an adversary. Adversary is that which is against you. Anybody that opposes your freedom is a devil. Anybody that opposes justice for you is a devil. The devil is the one who brings the alcohol. The devil is the one who brings the dope. The devil is the one who brings the reefer. Cigarette away from you, you get the shakes. You can't do without it. That cigarette that you smoke is as much dope or narcotic. A white gorilla named Uncle Sam. Because Uncle Sam gets his cut. One of his largest sources of revenue is the cigarette tax. One of his largest sources of revenue is the whiskey tax. Let the devil go by.
You're something that you never had. Spit it